kind of in seasons. Have you noticed there's things that you think about right now that you don't particularly think the same way you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You've maybe advanced, matured a bit in your way of thinking. And a week ago, right? Maybe you've changed your opinion in the last week about something. I don't know. But what comes to mind is the world and how fast it's moving around us is changing not only our opinions, but even how we interact with people. How many of you, the first thing in the morning, let me back up real quick. How many of you here have a cell phone? I think everybody raises their hand, right? Everybody's got a cell phone. How many of you are guilty of this? And I'm preaching to the choir right now because this is something that I've noticed in myself and have had to make a habit or a new ritual, if you will, to stop doing. How many of you, first thing in the morning when you wake up, you reach for your cell phone? You turn yours off? To turn off the alarm? Okay, so let's say you hit the snooze, you change the alarm, then what do? Start browsing, right? We start checking different things, email maybe, messages somebody sent, the bank, make sure my white privilege showed up in the bank. No, so you're checking all these different things. And what are you doing? I want you all to reflect and pause and think about this. So you wake up, your mind, first thing in the morning, where you need to maybe focus on your day, get dressed, get ready, collect your thoughts. And what have you just done? I heard it put this way. You give up and forfeit your sovereignty over control of what your morning's going to look like. Because what happens? I get on my phone and I start checking. How many likes did I get on this picture? Did they friend me back? What in the world? And you start going down this rabbit hole of YouTube videos and something else and Instagram and Snapchat, whatever else. And it's just like, what should have been 30 seconds is now 20 minutes later, and you're behind, right? You're not making it out the door in time. You're not getting ready for school. All this different stuff now starts compacting, and you ask yourself, you almost smack yourself. You're like, again, why am I so dumb? Like, why do I keep falling for this? But if you start noticing what it is that's doing to us, so when you get a little reward, like a like on a picture, what that does to you in Spanish, te llena el tanquecito, te ministra. It fills your little tank up. It affected you. You know what it actually did to your brain? It gave you a little shot of dopamine. It actually triggered a pleasure sensor in your brain telling you, congratulations, good job. You know what the problem is? That it was a cheap reward. So this cheap reward now multiplied times hundreds of stimulations throughout the day, and I'm just picking on likes or whatever, but expound that in any direction, anything digital, anything that is not a real human interaction, and you get this dopamine fix. You know what else stimulates dopamine fixes? Here comes a train, pornography. The same addiction that people have with pornography is because it's a cheap reward. There was no effort to it. You just looked at it and absorbed. It's the same exact chemical that's released in your brain when you get happy when somebody liked your picture. How's that for a mental smack? So when we start evaluating, we can easily identify and say if somebody has a problem with pornography, they've got an issue, or they can't control themselves, or they don't respect women, or women that don't respect men. Whatever the case might be, we identify that as like a gray or dark area. But somebody who's addicted to social media, that's just normal. You know what ends up happening is that we start getting these little fixes everywhere. And then you start wanting it in every aspect of life. It starts turning into what I refer to as the Amazon generation, right? in business. So I have a business. We do computer services. And that's my constant struggle is Amazon has spoiled everyone into thinking you can have it right now. Right now. What do you want? Right now. You want it in 2 hours? You got it. I'll Prime Now it to your house. Where are you at? Right? And so for them, pat on the back for them, good job. You've just taken customer service and like delivery to a whole new level. But what that's told all of us is don't even get off your chair and just click and buy and receive rewards and all this stuff. So they've made spending very easy. But what has that done for you? You don't get out anymore. You don't have real relationships with people. And I'm just saying generally, right? I'm sure y'all do. But as a whole society, population, these are real problems that people, you grab two total strangers. I always marvel at this. I always marvel when you grab two little kids. I've got a little 4-year-old boy. You take him to a park, total strangers, and just let him play with the other kids, and I'll just stand back and watch him. Within 15 minutes, he has 6 best friends. I mean, just like that. He's talking to kids. They're sharing Cheetos, and they're sharing stories. Goofy little things, right? Like age appropriate. But it's just like, they're all throwing high fives in 15 minutes. I would like to see if any of you, if I put you in a room with 6 new strangers, if in 15 minutes you already had their phone numbers and y'all are already like planning the next time y'all going to go get coffee or hang out or something. Right? We don't. It's just like, maybe some of us do, right? Some people are super social, like that's cool. But typically, what's becoming the norm is social awkwardness. Social awkwardness is, I can't carry on a conversation because I'm so used to my quick dopamine fix, you're not stimulating me enough. You're boring me. Where's my tablet? Hello? That's a reality check for all of us. And so when I start evaluating where I get my fix from, there is one woman in particular that comes to mind, a story in the Bible. I want us to go there real quick. Real quick, we're going to read like the whole chapter. John chapter 4. We'll just go ahead and jump right into verse 4. So this is the woman at the well. A lot of you are very familiar with the story. I'll read it straight out of the word just to not butcher it, and so we can just kind of marinate in that a little bit. Let me get my Bible app opened. John chapter 4, verse 4. You guys ready? All right. So it says, now he had gone through Samaria. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. How many of you can imagine that about noontime, probably in an arid desert climate, it's probably kind of hot, right? You guys are used to some San Antonio weather, and like you're just running from air conditioning to air conditioning. It's just like you dart out the door and like start your car even from afar if you have that feature, right? Let the car cool down. You don't even want to be in the heat. Imagine now you just walked a journey, you find a well, and this happens to be Jacob's well. Now, take it back way, way old school. This is generational like well that a town has sprung up around it, but this is Jacob from the Old Testament, like patriarch times. And here's Jesus, fast forward now. He comes up to this well. So everyone probably thinks this well is like super awesome because Jacob dug it, right? Jacob gave it to Joseph. So anyways, Jesus is chilling there. It's about noontime when a Samaritan woman came to draw water. You all remember the story of the Good Samaritan, right? Same like race of people, same nationality. So not really friendly to the Jews. They kind of, very racist, right? Like they just didn't get along well and they kept a distance. That's why the story of the Great Samaritan was such a pop in the face, because he was good and did the right thing, and the people who should have known better did not. So anyways, just kind of elaborating, Samaritan, same nationality. This woman's there, which should have been even further away, further detached from who Jesus came to minister to, but this is just him breaking that mold of reaching out to the Gentiles. And stretching an arm out. So anyways, this woman comes to the well to draw water, and Jesus says to her, will you give me a drink? His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. So the Samaritan woman said to him, you are a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink? For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. Basically, she's recognizing the barriers that he's breaking to even approach with even asking for a drink. Jesus answered her and says, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. Her, kind of clueless, not knowing what he's talking about, says, sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and his livestock? Jesus answered, everyone who drinks this water, he's talking about the well, will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water that I give them will never thirst again. Let me pause there real quick. So in normal language, if you've been running a lot, you got hot, everyone say thirsty. That means you want water to quench your thirst. How many of you have ever been somewhere in a situation you were parched, like you couldn't even swallow straight, it was just bad, and you got that cold glass of water, and wasn't it the most incredible experience? Like you just feel like you could take down a gallon at that rate, just, right? Awesome. Jesus here is talking about that kind of thirst, but I want to put a spin on this. How many of you know what the Urban Dictionary meaning for the word thirsty is today? It's more of like a young people's thing. When you say someone's thirsty, what are you saying? This dude laughs in the back. He knows what I'm talking about, right? It means you're needy. You're wanting. Like you're desperate. You're trying too hard. When someone's thirsty, it's like if I was like craving a lot of friendship or trying too hard to win a girl, right? What would they say of me? Man, the dude's thirsty. He's desperate. Like he's looking for anything to quench himself. That is precisely what we look like when every morning we're doing this. Whew, dopamine fix. Whew, going through to get my fix. I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty. I'm looking for something to quench something inside of me that needs to be satiated, needs to be satisfied. And so now the question becomes, some people are satisfying it with drugs, money, sexual relationships, social media, bad friendships, bad relationships. Fill in the blank. I don't care. Pick anything. The point is, if you're filling up on something that is not Jesus, you are always going to be thirsty. Always going to need another drink. There's never enough. Check it out what Jesus tells her. Whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. The woman said to him, now she's kind of getting a clue. She still thinks he's talking about water. Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water. She's still thinking physical realm. He told her, go, call your husband and come back. This is a trick question. This is a loaded question because Jesus knows precisely her situation. He wants to see what comes out of her. She says, I have no husband. Jesus says to her, you're right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have 5 husbands. You have had 5 husbands, and the man you are with now is not your husband. What you've said is quite true. We're talking about social media and other things that plague us nowadays. But what was this woman's problem? I identified one of those earlier. Relationships. How many of you know people who can't be alone? They can't be out of a relationship. They can't be by themselves. They can't be content in their singleness. I know people like that. Like literally, they would rather be in a bad relationship than to be happy and single. Unbelievable. They would rather cleanliness, thirsty, right? This is what I'm talking about, to where our minds are weak and gravitating towards things that are just total distractions. They're not God's best. But if we're focusing constantly on what it is that Jesus has to give us, that water, and I'm just filling up on him, because the point is that it's not that I'm not going to be thirsty, it's just that when I go to take that quench, what am I quenching my thirst with? If it's Jesus and his word, boom, that's just going to well up in me unto eternal life. I'm going to have something to give to people constantly. Somebody's going through a hard time, I've got a word of encouragement. Somebody's having a bad day, hey, let's pray about it. I'm constantly now identifying things of the kingdom because I'm filled with something greater than just a fix. Does that make sense? So now when you start talking about things of kingdom, how many of you... identify something here. Maybe I'm talking a little bit more to the guys, but this is more of a traditional role where guys pursued girls. Nowadays, girls will ask guys for a number or whatever, and it's considered normal. But in a traditional sense, right, a guy will usually pursue a girl. I want to talk to you just very quickly about treasures. The Bible says that where your treasure is, there your will be also. Think about that. Where your treasure is, your heart will be also. So let's put some sneakers on that. Let's make sense out of it. If something is important to me, like a relationship, my heart's going to be attached to that. Yes or no? Right? Let's say the house that I live in or the car that I drive. I would probably be upset if I got home and found it burned to the ground or walked out into the parking lot and found my car missing. Why? Because it's become a treasure to me and my heart is attached to it. If they stole your car, I would probably just feel sorry for you. If they stole my car, it would be a tougher pill to swallow, right? Because it just hit home. Because it's my treasure that is close to my heart. So the question becomes, what are we making treasures? What are we making, letting to take this throne, if you will, in our lives? Because when I start to put things as treasures in my life, that's going to start to consume my heart. Let me make sense of this one for you. How many of y'all have seen a guy before that's crazy about a girl, but the girl's not so interested in him? We've all seen it, right? And it seems like the more he tries, the worse he gets. And the more she says no, he cranks it up a notch. Have y'all noticed that, or is it just me? Now, finally, when he gets the hint and walks, he's devastated. Absolutely devastated, right? Crying, doesn't want to talk to anybody, whatever it might be. And you go and talk to the girl and ask her how she's taking it. She doesn't even realize what she's done. Maybe, right? Like she's not experiencing what he is. Do you know why that is? Because he did all the investing. She did none. He was the one losing sleep over her, thinking about her, crafting his next move, maybe buying her roses, show up with chocolates on Valentine's Day. All these things that he's maquinando, right? On how to conquer her. And she doesn't she's not doing anything of that. She's just on the receiving end. She's like, this dude, laying it on thick. Can't he take a hint? And he's just more and more and more. So finally, when he gets the hint that it's not going to work, there's no chemistry, she doesn't want anything, he's devastated. Because where his treasure was, there his heart was also. This is just a little, a freebie for you guys out there. If there's a girl that you like that's way out of your league, have her start doing little favors for you. Listen to this. This is like psychology 101. When people contribute to, and let's say that Merani, maybe I just met her, and I think she's way out of my league, but I like her and I want to be with her. How am I going to do this? I need to get her to maybe do little things for me. Not like slave type stuff. I'm talking about, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you bring me such and such thing when we come to church tonight? Oh, yeah. So what's that going to do? She's going to have to spend mental energy to remember to pick up, I don't know, Hershey's bars, because Marlon asked me to bring that for tonight for the thing. Okay. See, it sounds dumb, right? Follow me on this. She's going to spend mental energy remembering that she doesn't want to let me down. This is just friend stuff. She brings it. Now take it to another level. Oh, my car broke down. Let me call her. Hey, can you give me a ride to work? It's just, I'll give you gas money, whatever. She comes by and picks me up. That gas in that car of hers costs her money. Her heart is in it. I ask her to give me a little piece of it because I just need to get to work, right? So now she needs to justify, oh, well, needs to get to work. I don't want him to lose his job. So she's going to give me a ride. She had to justify in her mind why I was valuable enough in her day, because we all have limited time, to give me that portion to take me in the gas. So slowly she has to keep justifying, and what am I making her do towards me? Invest. So fast forward the tape now a year. Now we're probably very good friends, and she feels almost committed. There's trust. There's something established. And I've done nothing but, I'm not talking about like abusive stuff. I'm talking about, this is psychology. That's why you feel some people, you just have to keep helping them, or I don't even know why. It's because you're invested. You've given emotion, time, energy. You've prayed with them on the phone. You spent all this time. You think, man, why do they keep making all these bad choices? But I just feel like I need to keep helping them. It's because your heart is there because you've made it a treasure. It's incredible. Like the same way that dude was heartbroken because he did all the investing. A relationship is supposed to be investing both ways, right? It's nurturing and all that stuff. Fast forward, that's awesome. But there's a point to where in life you're picking treasures because you're investing your heart and your time. So I ask you, you're going to school now, a lot of you. Peer pressure is just stupid. It's ridiculous, the things that the people around you are going to ask you, not even to do, but maybe you're going to feel like to make them happy or for them to like you, you need to do certain things or be a certain way or fit in, right? And so I ask you, are you thirsty? Are you putting your treasure somewhere that your heart is becoming attached to that? Because now, if you start to realize what it is that you're investing all this time, energy, and effort to in this new place, not saying not to be social, quite the contrary. I'm telling you, put yourself out there, be a friend, help people out because you are salt and light, right? The gospel is in you. You have the good news. I'm encouraging you, man, be friendly, be a helping hand, take the coat off your back, go the extra mile, all that good stuff. Because you're recognizing at that point what is kingdom. You're able to identify what is an opportunity to serve your king. But if it's selfish and just one more dopamine fix, you're only wrecking yourself. You're only getting caught and hung up on something stupid. Because now fast forward 10 years down the road, this is something that I heard the other day that just blew me away. Super simple, but it floored me when I thought about it. This has to do with preparing for the future. Guy says, there is an old man inside of you, speaking of each individual person, an old person inside of you who is counting on you to make the right choices. Speaking of preparing for investments in the future, because when you're old, and your knees hurt and your back hurts and whatever, and all this stuff, you can't produce the same way. You can't learn with the same agility you do now. You don't have the same opportunities because your body's not cooperating. That old person, who is you, 50, 60, 70 years, whatever, is counting on you now to make right choices. Think about that's a burden when you actually think in those terms. Because it's easy to think, oh, well, right now, tranquilo, I'm fine, I'm chill, everything's... Somebody's counting on me, and it's actually me in the future. Because time flies. How many of you have realized that time flies? Where did the summer go? Right? It seemed like it just started. Oh, school's already started. My little boy's already in kindergarten. It feels like he was just born a couple years ago. No, he's already in kindergarten. It's full throttle. It doesn't stop. 20 years is going to go by like that. Here's one of them. It's going to go by like crazy. Pretty soon this guy's going to be talking to me about maybe going to college or getting married. He's tiny right now. It's only a matter of time. And I have to think about those things down the road. You, now in your youth, think about your future. The friendships. What's the saying in Spanish about who your circle of influence is? Yeah, you know it. Say it loud. Tell me who you're hanging out with, and I'll tell you who you are. Did you know that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with? Think about it. Pick your friends carefully. Determine, is this healthy for me? Is this relationship healthy? Are these people taking me a direction in a place where I need to go? Or are they a handicap? Because here's the thing. If you're affected a lot by peer pressure, you better be careful. But if you're an influencer and you're a leader, then step up. Because you're in a position to influence others who may follow you very easily, and you lead them to your king. We're out of time. We're up against the clock here. I know it's a school night, and some of you have to get up